सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So we were seeing the section on Videha Mukti Phalam, the benefits of attaining Videha Mukti. So we were actually seeing verse 93 in the last class. Swamasangam udasinam parignyaya nabho yatha nashlishyate yatik kinchit kadachit bhavi karmabhihi. So we were discussing the jnana phalam, the result or benefit of self-knowledge. And as I said, it is twofold. The first is Jivan Mukti and the second is Videha Mukti. So Jivan Mukti topic has been completed with verse 90, and from 91, the Videha Mukti topic we entered into, and as part of that, Shankaracharya is discussing what happens to the threefold karmani of the jnani. Because there is a special law of karma which will be applied, so we have to discuss this, right? So we have to remember that karma here actually refers to the karma phalam. So karma in this context, in this whole discussion, can refer to the action or the karma phalam. The adrishta karma phalam in the form of the invisible punyam and papam. So what happens to the sanchita punya papam? What happens to the agami punya papam? What happens to the prarabdha punya papam? So sanchita punya papam, accumulated punya papam. Of that a portion fructified, that is the prarabdha punya papam. And agami punya papam is in this janma as we accumulate, as we do karmas, accumulating punya papam is agami punya papam. So of these three, we have already discussed what happens to sanchita punya papam in verse 91 and 92. And we should remember all these discussions were based on Shruti Pramanam, because punyam and papam are not available for our instrument of knowledge. They are apaurushaya vishayam. And we saw the Shruti Pramanam in Mundaka Upanishad 228. Very important to note this, because the Shruti Pramanam, that is the only way you come to know of it, right? From Mundaka Upanishad. So I said, Vidyate Hridaya Granthi, that shloka, that mantra points out that all the Sanchita Karmani of a jnani is destroyed. And generally they use the word sublated, negated, destroyed by jnanam. So jnanam destroys karma, jnanam sublates the karma. Now Acharya has come to the agami karma. Here also Shruti Pramanam is there, and the Shruti Pramanam was Chandogya 4.14.3. Okay, 4th chapter, 14th section, 3rd mantra. Yata pushkara palasha apona shlishyanta evam vidi papam karmana shlishyata iti. Just as the water cannot stick to the lotus leaf, similarly, papa karma or punya karma will not stick to a jnani. That is the mantra. And Shankaracharya is not quoting the mantra, but keeping the mantra in mind, he is using the word shlishyate. Right? Here you see the word shlishyate. So he's using it from that Chandogya mantra. And first he points out in the 93rd verse, the jnani is not associated with any actions he does. So first we have to negate the connection with the karma, because jnani doesn't identify with the three sharirams. And all the karmani or actions, right? Actions here, karma can mean actions also. All the actions are connected with the three bodies only. And jnani doesn't identify with the body. Therefore, even when the body performs the karma, he knows that in my presence, body is performing karma. Blessed by me, the body is performing. Right? I myself do not do any karma because I am asangaha. I am akarta, abhokta. I am the Asanga Atma behind the body. So that is what Acharya said. Swam Jnani, that is Swam Jnani, looks upon himself as a Asanga Chaitanyam, unrelated, relationless consciousness, and Udasinam, one who is remaining indifferent, right? Even though I appear to do karma, Dhyayati iva, Lelayati iva, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you see this 437, Lelayati iva, Dhyayati iva, as though I'm performing action, right? In the Gita, Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, right? Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan, right? Everything. Na kinchit, naiva kinchit karomi aham. Swam asangam udasinam parignyaya. Having known this fact very clearly through Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam, right? Yatihi kinchit na shlishyate. We completed all this in the last class. I'm just quickly revising. So this sannyasi who has internally renounced ahankara, mamakara, kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, this yati, sannyasi na shlishyate. He is not connected to the karma, the action, and because of that reason, he does not produce karma phalam, no agami punya papam, right? So, agami punya papam, the rule is that it will be generated only when there is kartrutvam. So, because animals do not have kartrutvam, they don't generate agami punya. Jnani is also like that, right? He also doesn't generate agami punya papam. So, he is not tainted by any of these. Kinchit, right? Even a wee bit, he is not tainted. At any time, bhavi karma bihi. Even later, even or future, even after jnanam, jnana anantara karma bihi, any karma is not connected with him at all because he is seeing himself as a akarta, abhokta, yatha, nabaha, right? Like the space enclosed within a pot. So here the body of a jnani is compared to a pot and the consciousness within the body is compared to the pot space. So whatever happens in the pot, it doesn't taint the pot space. Similarly, whatever happens in the body doesn't affect the enclosed consciousness. Now, Acharya himself explains this example in the next shloka. Okay? Nanabho gata yogena
Nanabho ghata yogena
suragandhena lipyate
suragandhena lipyate
tatatmopadhi yogena
tathatmopadhi yogena
tadharmairnaiva lipyate.
tadharmairnaiva lipyate.
So imagine that there is a pot and imagine that within the pot, some liquid is kept which has got a strong smell. Here the example taken is liquor. Any other liquid which has a strong smell also can be taken. And that pot space is basically connected with the pot because it is enclosed by the pot. Even though the space is connected with the pot, seemingly, at least it definitely appears connected, it will not have the attribute of the pot, right? So the attribute here is the strong smell. So gata is dravyam and the smell is guna. So dharmaha. So gata sambandhe satyapi gata dharme na lipyate. Even though space is connected to the pot space, right? It is, the pot space is not contaminated by the attribute of the pot, namely here the strong smell. So similarly, upadhi, the three bodies are like the pot and the strong smelling things is the karma. The strong smell of punyam and papam, whether it is the fragrant smell of the punyam or the foul smell of the papam, both, they are contained, yes, within the body, and consciousness is like the space within the body. But consciousness will neither have punyam or papam. The smell of the punyam and papam will not contaminate the consciousness, even though the consciousness is enclosed and connected with the body. So the example here is gata yogena. Gata yoga means gata sambandha, connection with the pot, nabaha, the space. Even though the space has got association with the pot, being an enclosed space, gandhena na lipyate, the foul smell belongs to the pot, it cannot come to the space, right? The akasha, the space cannot get it, right? Therefore, suragandena na lipyate. It is not contaminated. Tata, in the same way, Atma, the enclosed consciousness, Atma Chaitanyam, Upadhi Yogena, even though it has got connections as the enclosure, right? Upadhi Yogena, in spite of the Sambandha, Tad Dharma, meaning the Upadhi's Dharma, the attribute of the Stula Shariram, the sickness, the pain, etc. The Atma cannot have the pain of the body. The Atma doesn't have Ragadvesha. The Atma doesn't have Mamakara, Ahankara, etc. So the Atma doesn't have Punyam or Papam, which is stored in the Karana Shariram. Na Punyam, na Papam, na Saukyam, na Dukkam. न मे द्वेष रागौ न मे लोभ मोहो मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्य भावः. Acharya says in Nirvana Shatkam, right? So Jnani will never take the mental attributes as his attributes. Tad dharma, here the word dharma refers to the agami punyam and papam na lipyate. So he is not connected because agami punya papam is not generated and the karma also cannot taint the consciousness because Atma is asangaha and it is of a higher order of reality, which is not mentioned here, but it is paramarthika satyam, right? So Jnani doesn't acquire agami punya papam. If agami punya papam is avoided and sanchitam is also destroyed, right? So we saw this in Tattva Bodha also. And in Tattva Bodha, actually there was another point there saying that if agami punya papam is generated, it will not come to the Jnani, it will get distributed to others. It was said in Tattva Bodha, right? So that is because it is motivating the society, right? If you worship a Jnani, you can draw all the punyams because he doesn't have agami punyam. And when you ill-treat a Jnani, that agami papa will come to you, right? So Jnani will not generate papam deliberately, but inadvertently, if some papam is generated, that agami papam will go to those who ill-treat a Jnani. That was a suppositional argument there. It was an arthavada, right? As Swamiji says, you can take it or you don't have to take it. It is there in Tattva Bodha, right? So this statement is basically given to encourage people to worship the Jnani and to not ill-treat the Jnani, right? So this, the agami punya papa will not affect, right? Will not be generated in the case of Jnani because of his akartrutvam and abhoktrutvam. He sees an akarta, abhokta. So thus, the agami topic is also completed. So basically, there were 2 shlokas for Sanchitam and 2 for agami. 91, 92 was for Sanchitam, 93 and 94 for agami. Nanabho ghata yogena suragandena lipyate tatatmopadhi yogena tad dharmena iva lipyate. Now we have to enter the prarabdha karma topic, which is the 95th verse. Jnanodayat purarabdham
ज्ञानोदयात् पुरारब्धम्
karma jnananna nashyati
कर्म ज्ञानान्न नश्यति
adatva swaphalam lakshyam
अदत्वा स्वफललक्ष्यम्
uddishyotsrishta banavat.
उद्दिश्योत्सृष्टबाणवत्.
So here also there are 2 answers to be given from 2 different angles. First answer is from the Laukika Ajnana Drishti. Note carefully, first is Laukika Ajnana Drishti, which means from a normal person's perspective, how would he look at the Jnani, right? So from the standpoint of worldly people who are ignorant of Atma, right? How does he treat a Jnani? He's only seeing the Jnani's body-mind complex, right? So first, we are going to see that angle. Thereafter, Shankaracharya will talk about the Shastriya, Jnani's Drishtya. How does Jnani view the Prarabdha itself? That we will see from the 97th verse. So 95 and 96 are talking about Laukika Drishtya Prarabdham. So Jnanam doesn't destroy Prarabdham as per the Laukika Drishti. So Jnanam can destroy Sanchitam. It can save a Jnani from Agami. But Jnanam cannot do anything to Jnani's Prarabdham. So therefore, Prarabdha Punya Papam will continue. Therefore, Jnani's body will continue because the lifespan of the body is determined by the quantity of the Prarabdha that is left to be exhausted. So it has to continue. The body will continue. That is the answer that is given here. Right? So, Jnana Udayat Pura Arabdham Karma. Pura Arabdham means what? It has already commenced. When did it commence? At birth, right? It has started fructifying. So, Janma Kale, Sharira Aramba Kale Pura. So, it fructified before that. And that Jnana Utpatti Purvam. It is referring to before that, right? It has already started. So another name is basically Pura Arabdham, meaning Prarabdham, right? So Jnana Udayat, before the rise of knowledge, the karma Jnana na nashyati. So whatever karma has started already cannot be destroyed, can never be destroyed by Jnanam. That means Prarabdha will continue, and not only will it will continue to produce its phalam. Remember, Jnani is not doing any Agami karma. So he won't be doing any anything to counter his, papam or punyam or anything, because he doesn't treat it that way. So the prarabdha karma, which has already started, good or bad, it can be any kind of result, will have to affect the jnani. Therefore, swaphalam adatva, without producing its result, na nashyati, it cannot go, right? So, swaphalam adatva na nashyati, prarabdham will never go away without generating its results. And what are the results? Prarabdha punyam will give pleasurable experiences. Prarabdha papam will give painful experiences. And jnani will have prarabdha papam. Remember that. We should not get confused. Why? Because in the past janmas, in human janmas, he might have had, and those he might have had papa punyam, whatever, to whatever extent, and a portion of it only has fructified as prarabdha and come now, right? So he has done a lot of punyam, obviously. That's why he's got a human birth. He has got shravanam, guru shravana, guru's, blessings, shravanam, mananam, jnanam. No doubt that all this is there, but there might be papam also. And that papam will not, for the papam is not bothered whether the person is a jnani or an ajnani. The prarabdha papam, right? It has to continue. So, stula shariram will get affected. Sukshma shariram, jnanendriyani, karmendriyani. Jnani's sense organs may not work properly. His ears may not work properly. Eyes may not work properly. Right? He may be surrounded by good people. Sometimes he may be surrounded by bad people. Exactly like an ajnani. No difference at all. So that is why we see a jnani going through lot of various kinds of experiences, right? So the jnani's suffering is not because of somebody else's punya papam, but his own prarabdha will affect. So Shastram says swaphalam, and swa here refers to the prarabdha karma phalam adatva. Without giving it, it will not leave, right? So even the jnani might have to go to the ICU, etc. Can happen, right? So for prarabdha, the well-known example is like an arrow which is released by an archer. So he's got a quiver in which he has many arrows, and those arrows which have been used can be, which has not been used, which is still in the quiver, can be taken away. But imagine a hunter, right? He has released the arrow and the arrow started traveling. But midway when the arrow is there, he realized that, oh my God, it was not a wild animal that I was planning to hit. It is actually a cow, right? He can't do anything about it. He cannot stop that arrow midway, right? So the cause of release is misconception. Now in midway, the misconception is gone. The cause for the release is gone. But even then, it is already traveling towards the animal. He cannot stop, right? So it has to hit the cow, unfortunately. So this is the example, right? So he mentions the example, and in the next shloka, he explains the example, right? So lakshyam uddishya, meaning with the target in mind. Lakshyam here is the animal. Uddishya, utsrishta, released bana, right? Like the released bana, banavat, right? So, like the arrow which has been released, keeping the target in mind in the direction of the target. So, this is the example, the released arrow example. Acharya will explain this in the next verse. So, jnanodayat purarabdam karma jnananna nashyati adatva swabhalam lakshyam uddishyot srishtabanat. Vyagrabuddhya vinirmuktah
व्याघ्रबुद्ध्या विनिर्मुक्तः
बाणः पश्चात्तु गोमतौ
बाणः पश्चात्तु गोमतौ
न तिष्ठति छिन्नत्येव
न तिष्ठति छिन्नत्येव
लक्ष्यं वेगेन निर्भरम्
लक्ष्यं वेगेन निर्भरम्.
So the arrow vinirmuktaha, which has been released by the bow, right? At the time of release, what was in his mind? Right? He saw Vyagra Buddhya, right? So he saw, with the idea, he had an idea that there is a wild tiger behind the shrub. Vyagra Buddhya, Vyagraha iti Buddhi, right? With the idea that there is a wild tiger behind the shrub. Vinirmuktaha banaha paschat iti gomatau. And suppose after releasing the arrow, after release, gomatau satyam. So, gomatau jatayam. So, a new understanding has come. Because the animal has moved bit forward, it has come away from the shrub. Paschat here means bana vinirmoha anantaram. After the release of the arrow. So, his mind says, gomati, gau asti. He feels that it is the cow, right? Not a Vyagra, not a tiger, right? So, Gomatau Jatayam Satyam Api, even though the cause for the lease is removed, it is no longer a tiger, right? So, the arrow will not stop. Natishtati. And what will it do? Chinati eva. So, it will hit the Lakshyam, the target. Gam Chinati. It will hit the cow, right? So, Nirbharam, forcefully and strongly. Vegena, because of the speed of the velocity or speed or velocity of the arrow, it will deeply pierce the cow and even it may kill, right? So, this process, the jnani, basically, this cannot stop, we cannot stop the event, right? So, the event started when the jnani was a cow ajnani. Okay, take it as cow ajnani. He didn't know about the cow. Now, the process has started and he has become a cow jnani, right? But he will not be able to stop the arrow that has already been released, although the cow ajnani has become a cow jnani, right? So, the prarabdham has to take effect because it is already commenced. That is the idea. Nirbaram vegena lakshyam chinatti eva. So, in fact, in Tattva Bodha, we saw prarabdhasya bhogat eva kshayaha. It has to go through the experiences of pleasure and pain, have to be there for it to get exhausted. And complete freedom will happen only when prarabdham is exhausted. So, this also they quote a pramanam from Chandogya Upanishad 6:14-2. Tasya tavadevam chiram yavanna vimokshyate sampatsya iti. For that jnani, the total freedom will be delayed. The total freedom from karma, the total freedom, how long, right? Vimokshyate, until he is free from the prarabdha effect, right? He has to wait till that full thing is exhausted. So thus, because of Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava Pramana, we come to know what happens to the threefold karmani of a jnani. Sanchita is destroyed. Agami is avoided. Prarabdham is exhausted by the jnani by going through pleasurable and painful experiences. So with all this, the three karmas have been dealt with. Now, before going to the second answer of prarabdha, right, I told you that a jnani may look at prarabdha differently. We'll come to that, right? So, few important things we have to note. Now, when the jnani is alive, he will continuously face challenges from prarabdha punyam and prarabdha papam and prarabdha punyam. The prarabdha punyam will give him good experiences. prarabdha papam will give him continuous challenges at the body level or anything else, right? Environment level, etc. Now we have to note, if we think, is this prarabdham continuing good or bad? If you ask and you think, let us see the advantages, right? The greatest advantage of the survival of the jnani is the Guru Parampara. If he is not there after Jnanam, then the Guru Parampara itself will not be there. Suppose, imagine that the Jnanam destroys Prarabdham, right? Even in the class, as a person becomes a Jnani, that person will drop dead. Then there will be no Gurus at all, right? So, the Videha Mukti will be instant. Then there will be no Jnani Guru. They will only be transferring Ajnanam, right? So, the greatest blessing of Prarabdham is the Guru Parampara is possible. Not only the Guru can teach, and they can actually serve the society and is a living model for Jivan Mukti. You can observe, you can role model, you can actually observe the behavior of a jnani, and you can very clearly see, right? So the other day somebody was singing in praise of Swamiji, and they were talking about Shanta Swarupam, right? Daya Sindho. These are the terms that come to my mind when I see him, right? Full of compassion. And when you get a chance to observe the way he treats, example is, just few weeks back, there was suddenly a cat that gave birth to kittens in where Swamiji stays. I am sure even normal folks who, cannot have animals in the house would find it extremely difficult to, manage with them in the kitchen for 1 hour. But what I realized is it's a very good chance to observe the behavior of a person who's a Jivan Mukta, the way he even treats animals around him, how patiently he dealt with the whole thing, how many weeks it took, right? No hurry to take them and give them away, but at the same time managing everything, recording going on during the same time. So if there is noise, there can be disturbance. So we all get a chance as students, as society, to observe these jnanis, because they have still prarabdham to exhaust. And so we get this wonderful opportunity to observe and learn from them. So the Guru Parampara continues, and we also have these role models who are Jivan Muktas themselves, right? So the second blessing is that Jnani, the Jivan Mukta himself, can enjoy the glory of liberation. So enjoying the glory, he can claim the glory of Saguna Brahman. He can also jump with joy, right? Yasmat marati revasyat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyevacha santushta tasya karyam na vidyate. So the enjoyment or Jivan Mukti is possible. So Atma by itself can never claim the glories. A body is required to claim the glories of the Atma. So Jivan Mukti is a blessing that way. Enjoyment is possible. Guru Parampara is possible. The disadvantage is, yes, however great a jnani is, his prarabdham can also affect him without announcement, suddenly, right? Any challenge, emotional challenge, physical challenge, anything can come. So that is why in Sita Prajna Lakshana, we saw in Gita, Dukkeshvanud Vignamanaha Sukeshu Vigataspraha. So Krishna talks about painful experiences of a jnani, indicating that jnanam cannot ward off those experiences which are coming because of prarabdham. Biological pains also could come. So, of course, the jnani has the capacity to handle this because of his sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. So, he has acquired vairagyam and he has reinforced the vairagyam through jnanam. So, he has developed titiksha. And because of detachment and because of endurance, he can neutralize or nullify or reduce the impact of all the problems. So, given by prarabdham, there are a lot of problems. Guruna api dukkhena na vichalyate. Even the worst suffering, it can confront, it can happen, but he knows how to handle it. So that is the Sita Prajna Lakshanam. So sadhana chatushraya sampatti is extremely important, right? So by developing vairagyam, by avoiding ragadvesha, because family attachments can create varieties of problems, right? So it is a problem. Many students complain to Swamiji with what? From the Grihastha side. my children, my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law, my son-in-law does this to me, etc., right? And they don't listen to me. So this is a problem. But as Swamiji says, it is important for us to try and develop that detachment. When they need help, yes, we need to provide. But other times, can we distance ourselves this way? Practicing detachment, right? So from children, grandchildren especially, very tough for grihasthas, but we have to do this, right? Only through nididhyasana. So a grihastha jnani should have vairagyam, and more important for grihastha jnani, because otherwise the next generation's problems, everything will start affecting, right? So Shankaracharya, while discussing Jivan Mukti, actually said, Vartamanepi dehesmin chayavadanu vartini. So the body will continue Vartamane api, present and in the future, right? Like a shadow, it will continue, right? So the body is mithya, jnani remembers all the time. And he does the prarabdha, even when it affects, he knows how to handle it. Matras parshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukadukkadaha. Whether it is children's marriage, whom will that person marry? Will they marry out of community, caste? These days, everything is happening, right? So for every small thing, if we get worked up, then there is going to be no end to it. So a practical way to deal with it is, have we done our duties up to say 20 years, educated them, etc., and then try and step back. That's the only thing that will help us to move on, right? So the application of Jivan Mukti in the Grihastha context is slightly different from that of a sannyasi jnani, but I think the benefits are definitely more for the Grihastha jnani, because he can live a life like that and enjoy, right? So he doesn't have, so Neyasya Nitya Sannyasi Yona Dveshina Kankshati. Even though outside he is a Grihastha like Janaka, right? Exactly like Janaka, but he knows how to handle the pleasures and pains. He doesn't react, right? So Prarabdha will continuously challenge. That much is for everybody, whether it is Jnani or whether it's a Grihastha Jnani or a Sannyasa Jnani. So in Nididhyasanam, in fact, Swamiji says, practice this with respect to the children, family, Pancha Anatma for that matter, body, mind, family, possessions and profession. Practice in Nididhyasanam, right? To give up. Everybody has their own Raga Dvesha, remember. So we will not be able to influence beyond that. So thus Jnanam and Vairagyam, right, will definitely help a jnani, and many people give importance more to jnanam, but for the grihastha, the vairagyam part is what is giving lot of practical benefits, right? So to transcend raga dvesha, etc. And of course, we also pray, as somebody said, if our prayer can be towards Annapurne, Sadapurne, Shankara Pranavallabe, Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham, Bhiksham Dehi Cha Parvati. So the prayer itself moves towards Jnana Vairagyam. So by the time a person is a Jivan Mukta, he is really free from all these worries and fears, right? And he has practiced detachment from Pancha Anatma. So the advantage of such a jnani is he can enjoy Jivan Mukti by invoking his glorious Brahman, both Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman, Vishwarupa Vibhuti, everything is mine, right? He can claim. When the prarabdha fructifies, the jnani will have to take these challenges he will face at the level of body, mind, sense complex. It will happen. But the regular invocation of jnanam through nididhyasanam, the jnana abhyasa, will actually increase his Jivan Mukti Sukham. And when he raises at the same time of invocation, right, of Vairagyam, it has to, whenever he invokes the Jnanam, and the Vairagyam has to increase, right? And slowly over a period of time, he can handle the Prarabdha Dukkhams better and better. It becomes insignificant. So basically, like, Swamiji gives this example of when during the day, the sun, when it is there, the stars disappear, right? Because it is insignificant in the presence of sunlight. Similarly, Jnana Ananda is like sunlight, which will make all the prarabdha dukkhams like the stars, Guruna api dukkena na vichalyate. That's why Krishna says in the Gita. So the second point we have to add is what happens to a jnani when the prarabdham is exhausted. That is not said here, but we have to complete it. So a jnani will continue to live in the body and the body will continue as long as prarabdham allows, say 30 years, 40 years. When the prarabdham is exhausted, then the body which has survived because of prarabdham has to fall. So until now he was a Jivan Mukta. So Jivan Mukta means it was embodied and he was Sadeha, basically. He was with the body. Then now once the physical body falls, the Sadeha Jivan Mukta becomes Videha Mukta. That means without the body. The jnani becomes liberated. The jnani becomes Videha. Not only the physical body goes away, the subtle body also goes. Because there is no Sanchita Karma, the Karana Shariram also goes away. Karana Shariram continues to generally hold the Sanchita Karma, right? So the Sanchita Karma is burnt. So there is no more Abhimana. So there is no Sanchita, there is no Agami, there is no Prarabdha. Prarabdhas got exhausted. So the Karma account is nil. So all the three bodies resolve. A Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, of course, the physical body has also resolved. And that is why in the case of Ajnanis, only physical body resolves. So it's called Antakalaha. Here in the case of the Jnani, Parantakala it is called because Tula, Sukshma, Karana, Shariram, all of them are gone. So Jnani merges into Brahman from a Paramarthika angle. So the individual Stula Shariram merges into the Virat, the total Stula Shariram. Sukshma Shariram merges into the Hiranyagarbha and the total individual Karana Shariram merges into Antaryami, the total Karana Shariram. Remember the Vedanta charts that we have shown, Introduction to Vedanta and Tattva Bodha, right? So, Stula Shariram into Virat, Sukshma Shariram into Hiranyagarbha, Karana Shariram into Antaryami. The individual Chidabhasa merges into the total Chidabhasa of Ishvara or Abhimana from the Anatma angle. Jnani merges into Ishvara. So from the standpoint of enclosed consciousness, there's nothing called merging, right? When the pot is broken, the enclosed pot space seemingly merges into unenclosed total space. So Atma Chaitanyam merges into Brahma Chaitanyam. That's all, right? So there's no movement. So Abhimana, basically there is nothing. There's no more, no movement, no merger, nothing. It is just a seeming merger of the spaces, right? So there is actually no real difference between the spaces. So he becomes a Videha Muktaha or he gets Videha Mukti. So now if you say Jnani attains Videha Mukti, he gets freedom from what? Jivan Mukti is freedom from samsara. So Videha Mukti is freedom from what? It is not freedom from samsara anymore, right? So it is just that it is a freedom from punarjanma. So Videha Mukti means freedom from rebirth or punarjanma. So Jivan Mukti is freedom from emotional and intellectual samsara. And Videha Mukti is freedom from punarjanma, right? So Videha Mukti Phalam is enjoyed by the Jnani. That is not mentioned here, but to complete the whole thing. So this is the story of the Jnani, right? So, but Shankaracharya wants to make a very important observation with respect to the Prarabdham, which is the second observation of Prarabdham, which I said we'll talk about. What we discussed now is from the Laukika angle, right? So we will see that. Before that, Vyagra Buddhya Vinirmuktaha Banah Paschat Gomatau Nadishtati Chinatyeva Lakshyam Vegena Nirbharam. Upaditadatmya Vihina Kevala
उपाधितादात्म्यविहीन केवला
Brahmatmanaivatmani Tishthato Munehe
ब्रह्मात्मनैवात्मनि तिष्ठतो मुनेः
Prarabdha Sadbhava Kathana Yukta
प्रारब्धसद्भावकथानयुक्ता
Swapnartha sambandha katheva jagrataha.
स्वप्नार्थ संबंध कथेव जाग्रतः.
So, this is the study of Prarabdham from the Shastric angle, Shastriya Drishtya. So, Jnani who's having a Shastric vision, so the study of Prarabdham from Jnani's angle. Previously, it was from Laukika Drishti. So, now, Shastriya Drishtya, what is the story of the Prarabdham? Right? So, Jnanam doesn't destroy Prarabdham, we said. So the previous answer was that it will continue, right? And it will, he will go through it, right? So now the essence of the answer is he's going to say, Jnanam doesn't destroy Prarabdha. Jnanam makes Prarabdham mithya. Because the Jnanam is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, Atma is Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithya. The entire universe is understood as Mithya by Jnani. The Abhimana towards the Pancha Anatma, everything, body, mind, family, everything is Mithya. So even Prarabdha is Mithya only, right? So Sanchita, Agami, Prarabdha, everything is Mithya. The only difference is Sanchitam and Agami are non-appearing Mithya, whereas Prarabdham is appearing Mithya. But everything is Mithya only. They do not appear. Basically, Sanchitam and Agami do not appear for Jnani, whereas the Prarabdham is an appearing Mithya. That's all. So they continue. So Mithya Prarabdham appears. And Ajnani says Prarabdham is existent. For Ajnani, Prarabdham is Satyam. Whereas for a Jnani, that Prarabdham is Mithya. It is as good as non-existent, exactly like mirage water, right? So the Jnani can say Matstani Sarva Bhutani, Nacha Mastani Bhutani, right? So from appearance angle, Prarabdham exists. From factual angle, Prarabdham is non-existent. And he will say, I alone lend existence to this Prarabdham, right? Because I am the Atma. It is as good as destroyed for a Jnani, just like Sanchitam and Agami, right? Prarabdham is as good as destroyed. So Jnani does not give over importance to the appearing Prarabdha. He is okay. He, like watching a movie, he will just go through the samsara, his life, right? So he knows all the time that it is mithya. So it's exactly like na prahrushyet priyam prapya, na dvijet prapya cha priyam. No problem. Anything can come and go. It will never overwhelm a jnani. That is the difference, right? So the prarabdha is not destroyed by jnanam in the case of both Laukika Drishti and Shastrik Drishti, but the difference is that the Jnani treats it as Mithya or like mirage water. So there's no Prarabdha for a Jnani from Jnani's angle. So Prarabdha Sadbhava Katana Yukta. Talking about existence of Prarabdham after Jnanam is not correct because it is a statement, kathanam, such a statement, na yukta, not at all correct from the Muni's angle, Munehe angle. When he privately thinks within himself, he knows, I don't have any prarabdha. But in front of people who do not understand, he will also act as if he is one amongst them only. He is not going to say, oh, this is mithya, etc. Right? So, whenever there is bodily pain, etc., he is also the same way like others. But in private, he knows that it is mithya only. So he gives the example of swapna artha sambandha katha iva jagrataha. So acceptance of prarabdham after jnanam is like talking about a dream object after waking up. So swapna artha sambandha. Suppose in swapna, you got a dream lottery prize of 10 crores. Then you get up in the morning and start, talking about investing the 10 crores in share market and, you can get a gain of 20%, etc. You've got the 10 crores in dream, right? So, Jnani treats prarabdham like that, right? Katha iva. So, he thinks the whole thing is meaningless. So, for the Jnani, he has become a super waker. He continues to be a waker from others' angle. So, in private, he is a super waker. And the world is a dream. It is good as non-existent, right? So because he has woken up to his higher nature, which is not Jiva Bhava. So he's woken up to a higher nature, which is Brahma Bhavaha or Ishvara Bhavaha. So Upadi Tadatmya Vihina Kevala Brahmatmana Iva. Right? So Brahmatmanaha Tishtato Munehe. Muni is one who abides. Tishta. Right? Tishtato is Shatru Pratyanta here in Shashti Vibhakti. So he abides. Right? A Jnani is abiding in Jnanam all the time because of Nididhyasanam. And he looks at himself, right, as Brahman, who has projected this dream world, the regular dream world, and this regular world that is seen, he treats it as that, right? And he treats it as Mithya, which is residing on my own self, right? So, in Manisha Panchakam also, we see the shloka, Brahman, Brahma, Brahmaivahamidam, Jagatsa Sakalam Vistaritam, right? So, Brahmatmana eva tishtata. What type of Brahman? Kevalam Brahma, non-dual Brahman. There is no second thing other than that. So the second things that appears for me is the Upadhi. So the body is appearing, mind is appearing. They are all called Upadhi. And when the body, mind, Upadhi appears, it is Mithya. I don't have real connection with it, right? So it is exactly like mirage water. I'm never affected by anything that is happening, right, in this interactions. So I am never affected by any event that happens in the Mithya universe, in the Mithya body mind, any of them, right? So it's very natural to him, as it is in Nididhyasanam. So he says, Upadi Tadatmya Vihina, the Ani who has got Sambandha Tadatmyam, he doesn't have. There's no Abhimana. I am the body, or I have a body, I have a family, etc. He doesn't have that Abhimana. He's Asangaha. He says, Na mrityurna shanka na me jati bedaha pitanaiva menaiva matana janmaha. There is a question of children, spouse, grandchildren, etc. They are all from worldly angles, right? So I have really no relations. So Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandataha Shishyacharyataya Putra Pitra Putradhyatmanaha. Father, mother, brother, sister, spouse, children, everything, right? It's all, what do you say, negated by Jnanam. Neha nanasti kinchana. So where is the question of prarabdham? The prarabdham is too insignificant to even discuss, right? So when I look from Atma, prarabdha becomes as good as non-existent from the Atma drishti when he looks at it, right? So for a jnani who abides in Atma, freeing himself from the identification with Anatma, he is abiding in the Atma. So for him, the whole thing, prarabdham, is completely mithya. So as we say, he focuses on Jiva Bhava Durbali Karanam and Brahma Bhava Prabali Karanam, strengthening the Brahma Bhava. So he has weakened the Jiva status through Nididhyasanam, right? And so he looks upon himself as Brahman. So Upadi Tadatmya Vihina Kevala Brahmatmanaha, in the form of such Brahman, Atmani, in his mind, in the form of understanding, the whole thing, right? Any of these that is happening is not actually an event or anything that is happening to my body or mind. Everything is mithya, right? So the jnani also will have physical pain, etc. But he treats it as mithya, right? So as a karma yogi, he has already reduced his deha abhimana by surrendering to the Vishwarupa Ishvara. Even as a karma yogi, he has done it. So now as a jnana yogi, everything is mithya only, right? So he is not at all worried about donating the body in anything. He has already given Vishwarupa Ishvara, he has already submitted, I have surrendered, right? So Upadi Tadatmya Vihina Kevala Brahmatmanaivatmani Tishtato Munehe Prarabdha Sadbhava Katana Yukta Swapnartha Sambandha Kateva Jagrataha. Ajo Nitya iti brute
Ajo nitya iti brute
Shruti Tvamoghavak.
Shruti Tvamoghavak
Tadatmana tishtatosya
तदात्मना तिष्ठतोऽस्य
kutah prarabdha kalpana.
कुतः प्रारब्धकल्पना.
So, when I say I have prarabdham, when I say I am exhausting the prarabdham, whenever I talk about the presence of prarabdham, exhaustion of prarabdham, and I have to become videha muktaha, all this, when I say, I'm assuming I have prarabdham, I'm assuming the prarabdham has started fructification when I was born. All these patterns of thinking is based on the assumption that I am the body. So when I look upon myself as the body, I have to think, right? Prarabdham has started from my birth. I have a horoscope. I have a star like this. I have this dasha, all of this, right? All of them are under the assumption that I am the body which is born. And Shankaracharya says this story has been long forgotten by a jnani who has delved in Upanishad mantras and who has made them so meaningful that it is not just in class or anything. He is living that life, right? So, like the Kathopanishad mantra, na jayate mriyate va kadachit, and of course in Gita also, nayam bhutva bhavitavana bhoyaha, right? So, in both in Kathopanishad and in Bhagavad Gita, it comes. He says that the third line of Kathopanishad, we have this ajo nitya shashvatoyam, right? So that is what is quoted here. Ajaha means it is not goat, okay? We should not take it as the common meaning, which is goat, right? So ajaha means here the meaning, the etymological meaning you should take as na jayate iti ajaha. I am never the body. I am never born. So where is the question of beginning of prarabdha? The prarabdha is supposed to be only for people who are treating themselves as jivas, right? So when I don't have a vartamana janma, the current janma itself is mithya. When I treat it that way, where is the question of past janma? Right? Where is the question of earning prarabdha in past janma? Where is the question of exhausting in current janma, etc.? They are all stories, they are all mithyas. And all these things, they are all have been practiced in my nididhyasanam. So where is the question of past janma for me? Where is the question of present janma? I do not have relationships with the body, right? There is no meaning. I don't have there is no meaning in saying Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti. I am ever Muktaha only in all three periods of time. I am free from the body. I am Nitya Videha. I am Ashariram, right? So I do not have any connection with this Mithya body at any time, right? So, okay, let me stop here because I'm sure people have some questions. Okay. And we'll maybe continue in the next week. So, one second. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll have class on 25th and 1st. I hope to complete on 1st September. And on 8th September, we will have the summary followed by a small valedictory function where we'll have a special guest who will be coming for 10-15 minutes to address us.